Welcome. Today we'll be studying 6.3, which will be adding and subtracting rational expressions. Just ignore the part one, we're going to do it all today. So simplify each and reduce them to lowest terms. Now of course when you add and subtract fractions, you always need a common denominator, which we're going to see how to do in C and D, and that's the same for rational expressions that involve variables as well. So here we just add the numerators, 3, and then the denominators don't get added, they just stay the same. That's 3/4. 3/8 minus 1/8 will leave you with 2/8, which can of course be reduced into 1/4. 1/6 and 3/8 we need a common denominator. The lowest that we can find is 24. So 6 times 4 is 24. So we multiply numerator by 4 and denominator by 4. And then 8 times 3 is 24. So numerator by 3, denominator by 3. And we get plus 9 over 24. And 9 and 4 is 13. And 13 is prime. So this is not reducible. And we're done. 15 and 20. Your smallest denominator is 60. 15 times 4 gives you 60, so we multiply numerator and denominator by 4, and then 20 times 3 gives you 60, so we get 21 over 60 minus 3 over 60, which will leave us with 18 over 60. See if there's anything that will come out of both of these. 6 will come out of both of these, so numerator divided by 6 will leave us with 3. Denominator divided by 6 will leave us with 10, and this is the lowest terms fraction, 3/10. Factor each of these completely. I'm going to leave this for you to do on your own because we have had just a ton of practice with this, and I do expect you to be able to do all this by now. State any non-permissible values on the variables and simplify. Okay, the variables, well, 3 minus x, so x cannot be 3. 7 minus x, x cannot be 7. Those are the non-permissible values. Now x plus 3 and x minus 7, and then 7 minus x and 3 minus x, so these are opposites of the numerators. So in the numerator we can leave it as x plus 3 times x minus 7, and in the denominator we can take out a -1 and turn the first term into x minus 3, which doesn't really help us. Okay. So let's try it again with the next one though, and take out another -1, and this turns into x minus 7, and of course the x minus 7s can cancel off, and we have x plus 3 over, and however you want to write this, you can write it as x plus 3 over x minus 3, because these two -1s make a +1, and this stays as x minus 3. There, you're done. Numerator, okay, 35, -35 would be -5 and +7, but that doesn't work. And those are the only factors of 35. And actually, this is a mistake. Let's change this to plus 35, and then we can actually use -5 and -7. Alright, so the numerator can be factored as x minus 5 and x minus 7, and the denominator is a difference of squares, so that's x minus 5 times x plus 5. Okay, so your two non-permissible values, x cannot be plus or minus 5, and again those are two values right there. These are going to cancel each other off, and of course we're left with x minus 7 over x plus 5 as your simplified rational expression. Alright, 18 and 12, they have a common factor of 6, So 18 divided by 6 is 3, 12 divided by 6 is 2, so we're left with 3 over 2. Now there's 5 x's on top. 3 of them will cancel with all the x's in the denominator. We'll be left with 2 x's in the numerator. There's more y's in the denominator by 1, so there will be left 1 single y in the denominator. And that's it. Your non-permissible values, x can't be 0 and y can't be 0 because each of them would make the denominator 0. Can't divide by 0. Alright, there you go. Take pause, read through it. Case 1, denominators are the same. Two rational expressions have a common denominator. Add or subtract the numerator, and write the answer as a rational expression with the new numerator over top of the common denominator. So we'll take a look at that type right here. The denominator is already the same, so we're just going to add by grouping our like terms. 7x plus 5x will give you 12x. 1 minus 2 will give you negative 1 over x. Now, you cannot cancel this x. I can't stress this enough. This term does not have an x in it, so we cannot get rid of this x. Every single term must have the x in it in order for the x to disappear. So we have to leave this like that. Again, this is a simple one. The denominators are already the same, so the numerators go x minus 3, and then the denominator, of course, is x minus 3, and this just ends up giving us a value of 1. There you go. Okay. If the denominators are different when adding and subtracting these expressions with different denominators, you must rewrite equivalent fractions with the same denominator. Then you can combine and describe, or as described above, or just like we did on the last page. So let's find a common denominator. The first one, we can look at the denominator as 3 times x minus 4. Now it is almost the same as x minus 4, except this one needs a factor of 3 multiplied by it. So if we multiply this one by 3, we multiply the numerator by 3 as well. And we can rewrite this as 10 over 3 times x minus 4 minus 9 over 3 times x minus 4. And then we can combine and simplify. So 10 minus 9 gives you 1. And your denominator stays the same as 3 times x minus 4. Nothing else we can do here. We're done. Okay, this one. Now you see that we have a common x plus 1 in our denominators. The only thing is that this one is missing the factor of x that appears over here. So x minus 15 over x times x plus 1. So we're going to multiply this by x over x, so then our denominator is the same and our numerator will be slightly different. So this becomes x squared minus 4x in the numerator, and the denominator, of course, is x times x plus 1. Let's simplify. Numerator is x squared, and then x minus 4x is negative 3x, and then negative 15 in the numerator. X times x plus 1 is the common denominator. This you can probably factor. In fact, you can factor as, well, actually it might be difficult to factor. Let's just go ahead and leave it like this. Okay. X minus 2 and x plus 2. Unfortunately, these actually have nothing in common. So we need to take the first term, multiply it by the second denominator, okay, so multiply numerator and denominator by the other denominator, and then the second term we need to multiply it by the first denominator. Okay, and you notice that our denominators are now common. So this part of it was missing in the first one, this part of it was missing in the second one. And now we can start distributing and group our like terms and simplify. So 5x plus 10 for the first one minus 3x minus 6 for the second one, all over the common denominator x minus 2 times x plus 2. Alright. And be careful here because this negative gets distributed to both of these. So 5x minus 3x will leave us with 2x. And 10 minus negative 6 will leave us with positive 16 over x minus 2 times x plus 2. And of course, if you wanted to, you could factor the numerator as 2 times x plus 8. Won't really get us anywhere, but there you go. It's in the most simplified form right there. Alright, some more complicated ones. This one, it looks like it has nothing in common with this one, but just like we do with everything else we've done this unit, I want you to factor everything, okay? So the first term can't be factored, x minus 5. Now, the second term, the denominator, can be rewritten as x minus 5 times x plus 3. Alright, so now the only difference between the two denominators is this factor of x plus 3. So we have to multiply this by x plus 3 over x plus 3. Now our denominators are the same and we can start combining these terms. So 6x times x is 6x squared, 6x times 3 is 18x, and then of course we subtract 240 from that, and that's over x minus 5 times x plus 3. There's probably some more simplifying we can do here. 6 will come out of all of these things. So 6 times x squared plus 3x minus 60 over x minus 5 times x plus 3. And see if this can be factored. 60 is 15 times 4 is 10 times 6, which has a difference of 4. So we're probably not going to find anything that gives us the difference of 3, so we can just leave it like this. Okay, now the next one, just going to clear myself some space here. Again, factor everything. Your first numerator is the difference of squares. It can be rewritten as p minus 1 times p plus 1. So the only difference between the two denominators is the second one is missing this p minus 1 factor. So we go 3 times p minus 1 over p plus 1 times p minus 1. Distribute the 3 and then combine. So 4 plus, now this is 3p minus 3, so 3p minus 3, and this will be all over our common denominator p minus 1 times p plus 1. And 4 minus 3 is just 1, so your numerator ends up being 3p plus 1, and this is over p minus 1 times p plus 1. Nothing can cancel here. The p plus 1s can't cancel because this isn't p plus 1, it's 3p plus 1. That's not the same as p plus 1. And you can't take out a 3 from the p without taking it out from here, so it would be the same as 3 times p plus the third. So that's all we can do with that one. Okay, this next one. we're going to need a lot more room here. So your numerator on the left term is x minus 1. Denominator, this can be factored x plus 3 times x minus 2. Now over here we have x minus 2 in the numerator. This denominator can be factored as x plus 3 times x plus 1. Now notice that the only thing they have in common is x plus 3. So this one is missing the x minus 2 from the other one. So we have to go x minus 2 over x minus 2. And this one is missing the x plus 1 from this one. So we have to go x plus 1 times x, or over x plus 1. Now we have a whole bunch of work that we still have to do here, unfortunately. The numerator, x minus 1 times x plus 1 will give us x squared minus 1. Okay, and we are going to subtract the product of these two, which is x squared minus 4x plus 4. And these will all be over the common denominator of x plus 3 times x minus 2 times x plus 1. So it's a big gross mess. See if we can simplify. X squared minus x squared, those will cancel. Negative 1 minus 4 will give you negative 5. And of course this gets distributed here and here, so we end up with 5x, and then negative 1 minus 4 is minus 5 in the numerator, and x plus 3, x minus 2, and x plus 1 is our denominator. This can be simplified to 5 times x minus 1, but that won't help us cancel with any of the factors in the denominator, so we can just leave it like that. Alright, here's your warm-up. I want you to go ahead and try these on your own. You can double check them with me when you're done, or I'll put the answers up here actually for you to double check. Okay, so here are your answers. The one on the right got kind of ugly, but you can pause the video and watch as it goes down. So 2 answers here, and then your final answer here in red. Okay. Plane flies from Toronto to Vancouver and back, a distance of about 3,400 kilometers each way. The plane flies 100 kilometers an hour faster on the return flight than it does on the journey out because of the wind. Use the formula T equals D over V to find the total flying time for the round trip. 100 kilometers faster. This is all we know. So let x equal speed on way there. Then speed on the way back, the plane flies 100 kilometers an hour faster on the way back. So x plus 100 equals speed on the way back. There you go. Now it flies 3,400 kilometers each way, and we want to find the total flying time. So T for the way there equals D over V, which is 3,400 over X. So this is T1. T2, the return flight, equals 3,400 over X plus 100. There you go. And we want to add these two times together, T1 plus T2, so that's the T total. So 3400 over x plus 3400 over x plus 100. Now, these denominators, they have nothing in common right now. So we need to multiply this one by x over x. We need to multiply this one by x plus 100 over x plus 100. Alright, and what do we get from that? 3400 x plus 340,000, 340,000 plus 3400 x all over x times x plus 100. So in your numerator, you get 6,800x plus 340,000. And in your denominator, we have x times x plus 100. You could take out a 6,800, I think. 340,000 divided by 6,800 leave us with 550 off by 0. Okay, so this is 6,800 times x plus 50 over x times x plus 100. And there's really nothing else we can do with that right now, because I don't believe we were given any more information in the problem. Find the total flying time. Okay, so the total flying time is basically just this, where x is whatever speed the plane was flying at on the way there. And then once we knew that speed, we could calculate the time it took. A right triangle has leg lengths of x over 2 and x minus 1 over 4. This would actually be the shorter one, but it really doesn't matter. If all measurements are in the same units, what is the simplified expression for the length of the hypotenuse? Okay, so c squared equals leg squared plus leg squared. So x squared over 4 plus x squared minus 2x plus 1 over 16, which is this whole thing squared. Okay, so c squared equals 4x squared over 16 plus x squared minus 2x plus 1 over 16. C squared equals 4x squared plus x squared is 5x squared minus 2x plus 1 over 16. And of course, to find c, just take the square root of both sides. C equals the root, and I'm just going to make this a small root because we can square root the denominator. So c equals the root of the numerator, 5x squared minus 2x plus 1. And we take the square root of the whole thing. Okay, but the denominator just ends up being 4. So here's your final answer. Oops. And I think that's it. Okay, see you in class later.